Hi, everybody, and
Hi.
welcome. So we just
Wow.
finished by, you know, well, taking some pictures. So now it's time for working, but
Yep.
always with fun.
Well,
So
welcome everyone. It's been a long week. I don't know why this week felt really long. And I have really missed you people after last week. It was exciting last week, and I think this week Anthony did an awesome code and chill session. If you haven't watched that yet, go back and watch that. It was on Vue.js, right?
yeah, on VJS, right? It was the last session, well, at least the third session, making micro frontends with frameworks. We did React and Angular and then Vue, and each of them are available on the YouTube channel. So you can subscribe and access the video there. Everything is available. And if you want to put some comments, feel free. We
Of
are,
course.
we are waiting for your comments and for your suggestion also. So that's great.
Yep, and definitely ask questions because be curious. We love curious people. So yeah, just
Yeah,
keep
and by
asking
the way,
questions.
we probably do another session with Vue.js because we didn't finish everything, so we need to make it works as a custom element. But anyway, this is another question, and this is another topic we need to cover. But today, we are not talking about code directly, but to
Some exciting things.
yeah. Maybe you can explain, Sohini. So okay. I know you want to do it. So okay, let's go. Here we go.
Perfect. But before I actually start with our agenda today, just a couple of things before we start. So we are building an awesome community around composable applications. So in case you're interested to learn more about it, then do go ahead and join our server. I'll just share the link so that you can so that you can join our community and be part of it, contribute, share, be fun, and learn all the things that we're trying to build together. And it's very exciting. So we have a few people in the community already who have joined us, and it's been fun already. We interact and we do awesome stuff together. So if you're new here and if you are absolutely new to everything, you can go back, check our previous videos on modularity, modular applications, composable applications, and our goal about the community. You can go check that out. And then if you feel excited and interested, you can join our community. So go ahead and do that.
I just added the Discord URL here,
Link.
but it
Okay.
should be available in the chat. So feel free to join us.
Yep, absolutely. And
Great.
Before we get started, how's it going? What's happening? And if you're new in here or if you've just joined our stream, do not forget to drop a hi on the chats below so that we can say you hello and to tell us how's the weather at your place and what's going on. How was your week? So yeah, what's happening? So about today's session, we are gonna talk about a curator. So I guess this is our series, Anthony's and mine. Here we're gonna make sure that we talk about the best practices of the four main roles of application composition: the role of a creator, curator, composer, and consumer. These four roles, we're gonna come up with the best practices these four people can adapt to make composable applications marvelously smooth. So in our previous video, I guess last week or something like that, we spoke about the practices of a and this week we're back to speaking about best practices to work as a curator. So if you're excited enough, why don't you just jump on the chats and let us know what you're feeling about it. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah. Now, I would like to add, this is also a good opportunity to exactly understand what is a creator, composer, and a consumer. So because we are using these forces definitions a lot, and I know also we already defined that through different streams and blog posts and maybe many things again, but it's quite hard, sometimes to move to the definitions and to what we can expect in the real world, what is the real things. So that's why it's important for us to focus on these differences and give some through the best practices, understand exactly what we can expect for this role. So that's why I'm quite excited with that. So,
yes, and I think about this, even I am very excited because I'm here today to mostly learn from Anthony, because even this is a very fresh new subject for me, because even I want to learn how does a curator actually functions and what are the things a curator does while building composable applications. So that's kind of a question mark for me too. So I'm going to learn all of those from Anthony today, and of course to shoot your questions, he will answer it all. So
yeah, and I think that makes sense because as a developer we can easily understand what a creator is, because probably that we already are creator in such way when we are a developer. We don't know that, or at least we don't use that word, but it makes sense. But outside our technical area or our capability to develop things, applications, components, you can use anywhere you want. You have other people that are working or that are managing things to ensure that all this IT stuff it work as expected. So that means we need also, that makes sense also, some time to try to understand that. And because all these things are quite new, given by the different analysis made by Gartner, that means we need also to understand that with our own experiences. So if we are using our own experiences and try to figure out exactly what does it mean, or we can imagine that, so that means we can easily understand what are the best practices, what are the different tasks people will need to do, and etc.
Right.
So here we go. So we have several slides, so we can start by sharing them. So best practices to work as a creator. So maybe we need to start by just
doing a recap.
Yeah, doing a recap. Probably, Sohini, you want to do that. You want to do the recap first. So
okay,
if we
I'll do
start
that.
with the definition of the forces, just quickly to ensure that every people have all the knowledges needed, and then focus on the create.
Perfect. So about forces, I think in the previous videos also we have learned that in the create phase, you're trying to create applications. It could be a component, it could be a packaged business capability. So you or your team is responsible for creating it, for designing it maybe. So it could be you as an individual too, or it could be a team of some of you who would just spend time on designing what you're trying to build and then write code for that, and that's it, just bundle it. And then going to the curate phase, if you it could be you also, your team also, who could be a creator and a curator as well, or it could be someone else who's going to take care of that. So let's say I am the creator and Anthony is the curator. He's going to make sure that I have created the component or the packaged business capability properly with the exact elements which are needed to pass the what can I say, kind of certification, else it will not go to the hub or to the place where we have other components and packaged business capabilities. So the curator is supposed to make sure of all the checks. He or she is going to make sure that the application's built properly, the version, the other certain stuff which we're going to talk about today, like the main role of a curator. We're going to talk about those in details today, so I'll not say a lot about that. So it's basically a person who's trying to run a run checks of a checklist. So that is the role of a curator. So that person is very strict. So it's just gonna make sure that right, else he's gonna say no and he's gonna say go back home. So anyway, fun part. And then once your component or PBC is in the hub, after the curator has validated it, then comes the role of composer. So you can be again a creator, curator, and a composer. You can be the same person, or if it is a different person who's taking care of compose phase, compose role, then their work is to assemble those components or PPCs in a page, in an application, with respect to the design of it. So let's say we've got 5 PPCs, so that person is supposed to make sure that all those 5 PPCs are placed in the right place of the page or application. So yeah, I think that's the role of a composer. And consumer is supposed to make sure that they are using whatever was built there. Let's say, so the composer built the website with those PPCs in the application, and then the consumer is trying to use it and is trying to monitor it or is trying to analyze it. So that's the role of a consumer. Again, you can be you can be a consumer too, being a creator, curator, and composer. So yeah, so the question is, what C would you like to be? I like the question, Anthony. I guess I wanna be a creator and a composer. Curator is very strict.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm just wondering what people would like to be in this.
Yeah.
In forces. Yeah, creator and composer. I guess sometimes they come together. Even if it really depends. I think it really depends also on how your company or your environment you're working is large or
Right.
not. So of course, the larger the company is, probably the less flexibility to move to another to C to another C will be. That means, but as a creator, strictly creator, you can create a lot of things. Create things. As a creator, you have a central place in the company. As a composer, you are really close to the business, to the final users, probably the closest to all these C's. And of course, as a consumer, you own the business. So each C is very important and very interesting. But if you know exactly which C you want to be, just drop a message here.
Yep, waiting to see.
Yeah. So who is curator?
Curator. So we're going to talk about curator today, and here is the exact definition of what a curator does. So they're responsible for making sure that all the applications or the building blocks are in right hub, and they are also responsible for creating categorization and logging inventory, and they're also responsible for making sure that components, business capabilities, and solutions are ready for composition, after passing all the checks of the checklist. So Anthony's gonna speak about the checklist. Absolutely, what are the things which contain inside of the checklist? Sorry for that. Yeah, what are the things that consist inside the checklist, and why they are important to pass validation, and why exactly do we need a curator in the picture? So yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah. Then we can finish with the component lifecycle, just to remind everybody that what are the different processes a component need to pass to be used.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we did a lot of create modules phase in the previous best practices to work as a creator. In that session, we covered uh, our position module section. So right now we have moved to curate modules. So we're standing here and we're gonna talk about the curator today. So this is just to show you a depiction of what we're trying to do. So yeah, I guess you can move to the next slide. What we have.
Yo, what are the best practices to work as a creator? A lot of things here. So please
Yep.
just listen. I will try to explain each point. That is very interesting because we have a lot of things to share with you. There is, I think the curator, play a role in two different, or at least in the two main different steps that are. Then I'm preparing the creation part. So in the early stage, I know that what I need to do, I need to follow some guidelines. So I need to do things to be compliant. And then the curator in the second step is somebody that, do the inventory, list every component we have or every PBC we have, do some checks and everything. So of course we also have the third step that basically is the second step. I mean, in the real process, that is, we need to check when a new PBC has come, or when a team wants a PBC to be shared on the hub. We need to do some checks and to tell the team to improve on, to validate this PBC. So that means it's three, even if the same person can handle three different steps that are very different. So the first one could be more, I'm defining guidelines. So I need to communicate to people. I need to write something down on a paper, to be very, and being very clear. I want also then to do some checks, and be able to communicate to the person what's wrong or what's good, and how we can improve that if it's wrong. And then I have my background task that is basically execute checks or communicate or contact all teams, if you need, for example, to improve existing PBC. So from that, we can easily understand that in all this point, there are some best practices we can emphasize. So for example, when we define the guidelines, that is the first point, is defining the guidelines is very important, because it will help team to start, at the right level. So to start with the right elements. So I guess, and I know that it's very hard as a developer or as a dev team, let's say, to start on something, too blurry. So, you can exactly what you need to do, what you need to follow. So you start with your own practices, but then you figure out that the company or the community you work for is not following exactly the same one. So that means you need to change everything. And this is not a good point, because the better is to start with the good practices or following the guidelines with the first line of code. So that means, as a curator, you need to define these guidelines, but probably you need to define them with the creators, because you need to understand exactly what they are doing. If some guidelines can be change
Mm.
or improve, or let's say to be adapt to the real work uh, developers, creators are doing. So it's not a blocking point. So you need it's supposed to be something smooth and
Mm-hmm.
to help work to the creator work. So in these guidelines, you need to define the size of this package business capabilities. So we
Mm-hmm.
can understand that we talk a lot of the time of PBCs, components, and etc. So let's say a component is a piece of code you can use and reuse to achieve a business goal. A
Mm-hmm.
PBC is a way to wrap all these components and distribute them in a business way. So that means you just collect several components into one PBC to wrap them and distribute them everywhere you need.
Mm-hmm.
So people can decide to install these PBCs because they want to use this component that are providing by this PBC, providing by it. So you can
Right.
imagine having one PBC with one component or one PBC with a ton of components.
Right.
And I guess both of these situations are not pretty good,
Which one is
because
good
if
then?
that is a good question, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I don't have the answer. So
Okay.
probably having one component in one PBC sometimes makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Having multiple components, I can't I can't give the number, by the way, but
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on what you are doing, what kind of business your company is trying to solve, what are the different requirements you have. Let's say if you are working, if you're a curator
Mm-hmm.
for a community, it could be really depends on what the habit you have to do with all these things. So what I want to say is, let's try to define PBCs that are business driven. So
Mm-hmm.
we should avoid, the kind of put everything you have into this PBC that basically will not be a PBC anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
then people will just select what they want. That is.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that people will not use your component because a ton of things that come with. I don't want to have all these things.
Mm.
Uh, Also, if you put only one or two components per PBCs, that means you need to install a lot of PBCs when you want to
Mm-hmm.
use your components. Probably people will not be very um, okay with that. We will not
Mm.
agree with, oh, I need to install then first, then the second, then the third. And also that means the creator need to do checks for all of them. And that means also the creator need to do upgrades into all of them. So I think it's like, it could be seen as, when you are splitting an existing application into several microservices or micro frontends, you don't want to make it too small and you don't want to make it too big. You want to make it at the right size regarding a business value you want to give
Mm-hmm.
to your users. I think this is why it should be business driven. Easily reusable, that means also, if I want to use it should not be relying on one application. So let's say you
Mm-hmm.
are creating a PBC for one application. So that will be the first application that will use this PBC. So you know that they are needed. That you know also. I think you need to design it uh, as and having in mind that this could be reused. So if
Mm.
they need 10 components, that will not mean I need to wrap all these 10 components into PBC because they need the 10th. Probably
Oh.
what you need to do is, let's try to think, at a more well, let's try to do an overview of what we have there and split all these elements into the logical way, because we want to
Mm-hmm.
reuse all of them. And by the way, this is all we define in PBCs. So that should be, all these PBCs should be naturally defined. That is a bit
That's very, yeah, I think
hard, I
that's
guess,
very,
also.
yeah, it is. And so that's why I feel it's very tricky and again
Mm.
interesting at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be. This is why I think you should involve all the people into these PBC definitions. It's not only the question of creator. It's not about I need to develop things. No, it's I'm defining my own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I need business people. I'm
Right.
defining components and graphical components. So that means I need people from the design team to ensure that everything is looking, the same.
Mm.
Uh,
Consistent.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, to be consistent, exactly. What I need also is to have developers, technical people, to ensure that everything we are doing is possible in this way, and etc., etc. So that means it's not defining PBCs
Mm-hmm.
could be. I mean, defining the guidelines could be done by the curator, but I guess the curator is this central wall that will, you know, gather everybody, in the same room and say, okay, no, we need to define how we make PBCs. So please help me. And so we define all these PBCs, and then we spread this definition to everybody. So that's why we make the creation process smooth, because now it's clear. It
Mm-hmm.
will easier to do all the checks. So the second point is
Mm.
define policies to implement the community or the company strategies. So that means we need to define rules that will make all these strategies real, or can make it really usable. So I gave just few examples that probably
Mm-hmm.
by the way, all these best practices are not maybe we can add more. I mean, or more example that makes sense. It's probably quite hard to define all these things here, but it might be included in the same ID. So
Mm-hmm.
the PPC needs to be highly configurable. So that means, so for example, they say no magic numbers, no hard-coded stuff. So you should not, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say differently, no, you should think about your component as reusable things, reusable
Mm-hmm.
components. So if I need to define a variable value, or if I need to define a variable, I can do it outside my component. So I don't need to build my component again using the sources. That is not something we want to do. What we want to do is to be able to change or to adapt the component behavior um,
Mm-hmm.
by giving configuration, by adding some configuration.
Okay.
Second point is use the right dependency versioning strategy. That is, use a package. So this is an idea. Once again, is um, we want all these PBCs included components that are following the right versioning strategy. That means
Structure.
structure, also the version. So that means
Version.
important. So
Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe the company can define or already have policies that say we want to always target the final release, not, so for example, not beta version, not I don't know, not a release candidate. So we want to have only the final version. We want to use, let's say, for example, for Java, we want to use Java 11 or Java 17
Mm-hmm.
or the latest LTS. So that means when a new LTS version is available, you need to upgrade everything. But when there really is a non-LTS version, do nothing. So this is the balance between all these things. This is why the dependency versioning strategy is important.
Well, I think this is also a very common thing, or this if
Yeah.
I mean this is also very important thing, even when you're writing for production in your company. Like normally, as a developer in your
Mhm.
engineering team, if you adapt this as a practice, then it's a good thing for
Yeah,
you. So not only here in the composable world, but generally also, this is a very good
yeah.
practice to have if you're an engineer, I guess.
That is definitively true, but probably the main difference between what you are saying that is
Mm,
are totally right. But the thing is, in this case, we are not talking about one team that are developing one
yes,
application. We are talking about
good
creator
point.
team that are developing component that will be reused
Mm-hmm.
across a lot of, well, I hope at least, I hope a lot of users. It could be
Yeah,
inside your companies, but or also communities. That
right.
means if you have this is why the creator role is very important, because this is this central role that will, okay, I know guys, you are following the good practices because
Mm-hmm.
you are, a good developers, you are good developers, you know everything well. But let's say no, we need to have a global more generic strategy, like
Mm-hmm.
we want all the team inside the company that are following that. And I am the guardian of that
Mm-hmm.
as a creator. I I am the trusted people that will help to define and to check all these things.
Guardian of
So
the Galaxies.
yeah, yeah, guardian of the galaxy, of the component galaxies. So it's
Yeah.
like, a
Wow, I
ton of
like this.
a ton of PBCs. And yeah, I want
Wow.
to be sure that all of them are following the same rules. That's great. Then we can also let's think about defining the code quality level expected for PBC. So that for example, this is the case. And by the way, this is the same thing that you just said. Is as a developer or inside a developer team, I probably already use such tool as Sonar to do some checks. If my code quality is good enough, I am following the right rules. Do I have some bugs and etc. What I need to improve in my code. So that is a good practice, by the way. But now it's not only a question of you as a developer. It's a question of you as a creator of reusable elements. So if I take two different teams that are working on their own PBC, on their own components, I expect both of them to have the same result in terms of code quality level. And this is why I can using metrics, because these metrics can help me to understand what we need to do, what we need to improve in all of these components. So yeah, you probably have the habit to do that, and that's good. But probably now you need to include a more global strategy, a more important strategy, company strategy that is owned by the creator.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is why also I think curator and creator should work together to avoid to let creator think that they are losing the responsibility of that. This is not exactly true. The fix is you need to delegate this responsibility at an higher level, but that means you also be able and you should be able to communicate with this person to ensure that what you are doing, what the practice we have, are still good and still follow, the best practices in the IT world. Okay, the last point is define the expected site content, such as documentation, description, content for demo, prerequisites, and operational conditions. So, for example, how much memory or CPU you need to
Mm-hmm.
make this component work. So, in this case, it's a bit different, but it could be very interesting. Is okay, you want to share this component, you want to share this PBC in our hub, but we also provide a good user experience for computers, because basically composers are the user of the different PBCs. So we don't want people to be totally lost into
Mhm.
this galaxy of components, and we want to provide them the good documentation, what prerequisites they need to have, or how many memory or CPU they need to have, or they need to they need to have on the cluster, on the Kubernetes cluster, to make all these things works.
Right.
So once again, it's something that belongs to the creator as a developer. I mean, but
Mhm.
it's also something the creator should handle in such way by saying, "Hmm, you are uh, a contributor to our hub, so
Mhm.
please try to, or let's say not try, just follow the rules."
Mhm.
That is very interesting. So, and
Yeah.
maybe I can, yeah, maybe I can give you an example that is not made from a creator stuff, but
Mhm.
from API gateway. So
Okay.
I know that uh, this is I made that in my own experience. Is, in some company they decide to define API gateway. So for example, they are using some solution to expose all the company APIs in one point. So you have one entry point you need to reach to consume all the APIs that are available inside the company. And why we're doing that is also to make it more coherent and to have one entry point. So that means that it makes easier to manage all these different APIs. That also means that people that are managing this API gateway define guidelines. So they
Mhm.
explain people, contributors that are developer that want the APIs to be uh, provide, to be exposed to the rest of the company. So they want them to follow some guidelines, such as, I don't know, be restful, for example. So they can write documentation or give to this team all the documentation they need to be totally compliant with all these rules. They can also help them. So, for example, you want to create a new API, you don't know exactly where to start. So, I can give you some good example. I can give you the guidelines. I can give you some tools we are using to do the checks to ensure that the APIs are following the
Right
rules and
direction.
the guidelines. Yeah, the
Yeah.
right directions. So we can imagine. I think everybody here has already made that, or can easily understand that, because it's
Mhm.
something that does exist for several time right now in several companies. And I guess this API manager, I don't know exactly what is the word, it could be API manager. This API
Mhm.
manager person is a kind of curator. So instead of create components in PBC, they are creating APIs. But basically, we can easily understand creating components and PBC through this example of, okay, I want to expose a new API. So that means I want to provide a new PBC. I need to follow the guidelines. I need to follow the API prerequisites, and what I need to do where I need to spread all my content and everything. And from that example, we can easily understand. Oh, that's great. Okay, no, I know that the next work I will do, or I mean, need to do as a creator, need to be done
Mhm.
with the help of a creator. Okay, next slide. It's
Interesting.
not, yeah, it's not exactly the same thing that the previous one that was. I want to know what are the different um, best practices. Here we are talking about, okay, I know I need to follow these best practices, but oh, I can do that. And I think the first point is, please avoid to be a blocking point in the development process. I think
Mhm.
that is very important. This is not because you manage the hub that you need to have a blocking point. We
Mhm.
say that the curator is the gatekeeper. So, like what is in the Nordic mythology.
Mhm.
So, the guy that is protecting the Bifrost. So
Mhm.
you don't want bad people to travel this Bifrost.
Right.
So you have an eye on everything that is coming inside your hub. So you are kind of gatekeeper. But the main difference is you are also a facilitator. So that
Mhm.
means you probably want everybody that can contribute to your hub to contribute to it. But if they are failing because they're not following things, they are not succeeding on creating right components or having the right size, as we said before, or I don't know any other examples that we can take, is you have to be a facilitator. So that means you have to guide them, you have to help them, you have to be to understand them, and
Why
this is
they're
one. Yeah,
Yeah, why it failed, and to
yeah,
reply back to them in a positive way that doesn't dishearten them.
yeah.
They should have a good attitude while they convey this message,
Mm,
and their speech should be friendly,
mm.
not like very angry. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that is important because uh, we need to understand that we both, I mean, curator and creator and even composer, all this, and even, and even consumer, of course, all these C's need each other. So you can create a hub alone and you
Yeah.
can create nothing, but it doesn't make sense. You can create a ton of components if you have nowhere to share them.
Hmm.
It doesn't make sense. You can want to compose application, but if the two previous steps are failing because of mm, uh, communi- communication
Communication.
misleading,
Yeah.
yeah, or anything else, you will have nothing to work on, and of
Right.
course the consumer will not be able to achieve his goals. So that
Hmm.
means we all know, and even even the consumer is the consumer. Is there is no consumer? Let's say okay, there is no consumer. So
Hmm.
that means you have no entry data to know exactly how you can compose your application. So that means you have nothing to to create, and so nothing to create. So everything are linked. So that is very important. So everybody or all these OCs are working in the same way. So that means as a creator, you are the gatekeeper, but you should be a facilitator too. And
Right.
as you are the bridge between the first rules and the third and probably the fourth, that means you should not, you should prefer use such kind of sentence. Let's check what's wrong so we can work together instead of you should not pass sentences. Oh,
Right.
no, of course, if you have some Balrog that want to come inside your hub, you can say you shall not pass. Even,
Yeah.
yeah, this is why also we need a curator. And that is very interesting. We use two different things. Lord of the Rings example with oh, what is the name? Oh my god. No.
Which one you are talking about? Thor? Is it Thor?
No. I was saying about the Lord of the Rings. You should not pass. Yeah, I know you know that.
Oh,
Please,
someone.
any Gandalf.
I forgot.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
yeah. He's on the bridge and he say to the
Mm.
Balrog. I hope the Balrog is the right word in English. By the way, is you should not pass. And
Uh,
basically, a creator could be this this
Person. Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
this prayerful person, because
Yeah.
if some hackers want
Mhm.
to want to create or want to add
Mhm.
malicious components into your hub, into
Hub.
his hub, it
Then we
can
have to
be
say,
this.
you shall
Yeah,
not pass.
yeah, it
Yeah.
can be this guy, you shall not pass.
Yeah.
That the same things, with the bifrost, in the
Mhm.
Nordic mythology, is you don't want toxic people, you don't want
Right.
um
To ruin everything.
malicious people to
Yeah.
come inside our environment, in your our world. That means you need to do checks.
Mhm.
But that could happen because of malicious things that can happen. I think it happen every day, every
Mhm.
second in the IT. But that also mean if for well for people that want to fairly contribute to the hub, you
Mhm.
probably need to be or to be seen as the facilitator, because
Right.
you need to help them and they need to help you. So
Right.
this is why the second point is very interesting, is having the good communication skills. I think that
Mhm.
is not very easy, because we say she is a bridge between the creator and the creators and the composers, and she or he should be able to communicate at the right level. So that means if I'm talking to technical peoples, I can't use technical words, I can understand them as a technical way. That also
Mhm.
mean, of course, I don't need to understand all this technical stuff, but I
Right.
need to have a good overview of that to understand at the right level, and uh, being compliant with them. Say, okay, you need that, we can make some improvement. Okay,
Mhm.
we would like you to improve your PBC in this such way, so please
Mhm.
try to improve that. Then we can do some checks together. And so, for example, for the composers, so more business people, we can also adapt the words to be understood by all these people. So that
Mm.
is also another skill that is more soft skills, but is very interesting, an interesting skill that is has a bridge as the creator of all things. uh,
Yeah.
I need to also be able to speak to all these different peoples, and they should understand me.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this point, I think, is very interesting. Also, so
Mhm.
improve your communication skills
Mhm.
to deliver the right messages.
Communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the last point, I think it's more not technical point also, because it's you can automatize creation processes.
Mhm.
So, for example, using pipelines, do some checks, quality checks, security scans, automatic testing, and etc. And that is interesting because I think the two main points is, the first element is, as a creator, you will be more efficient. That
Mhm.
makes sense. If you need to do all check by yourself, oh, it can take a lot of time, and you don't
Mhm.
want to spend all your time by doing checks, because as we said, you are also the gatekeeper, so you need to check also malicious things. You need also to define the guidelines, to write documentation, to update them. You need to communicate to all these people to help them. And the last point also, we said you need to let me remind that you need to check existing PBCs you have on the hub,
Mhm.
if they need to be updated or not, or if they are still following the
The
good
right pattern.
practices. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So that means the more you are automatize creation processes, the
Mhm.
better creator you will be. And
Right.
I think the second point, and probably we miss that all the time, or we don't think about that at the first sight, is having automatized processes helps also the other people to understand exactly what is wrong, what happened.
Mhm.
So let's say I'm a curator, I'm doing some checks, and I want to explain. I just need to see these people and to meet these people and say, hey, I'm sorry, team. There is something you need to improve um, in your PBC, in your components, because they are not
Yeah.
following the guidelines. And if I have nothing to present them, it could be quite hard. They probably will not. They will not probably understand well. Probably they will need to have more in-depth elements. And this is the same thing that we talked before previously. Is because they are also quite technical, they will understand technical things. So here I have nothing technical to present them. Probably all these things will not be exactly understood as it should be. So
Mm,
that means if you have automating processes using regular tools such as, I don't know, it could be Sonar. So, for example, Sonar or testing tools. I don't know, a lot of things. If you define all these things or you have them, you are using pipelines. So,
mm-hmm,
okay, let's check the pipeline. So this pipeline is red. So let's
mm-hmm,
understand why. And then you can check the logs, and in the logs you can understand that, okay, we are expecting, I don't know, we are expecting the quality gate is above 80 and you have 75. So that
mm-hmm.
means you need to improve that.
Yeah.
So, and that is very understandable.
Important.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that is important because you gain time in the two steps by
Mm,
doing the checks and by explaining people the results.
yeah.
So this is why I think this is very interesting
Mm-hmm.
in this way. So that's great. By the way, I think we cover everything here.
Everything. Wow. Well, I would
Well,
just like to say that I have learned a lot from you
yeah.
because even in the past, I have known things being on the shoes of a curator, even in real life, like being a person who's responsible for validating checks. I have not been that person. So it was interesting because this
Mm,
seems to be like a real life role which has responsibilities. So these are traits a person needs to have in them to be able to succeed as a curator. So I think these were awesome, Anthony. Thanks for sharing all the awesome tips and the best practices, as you said. And also, what are the traits a curator needs to have in them in order to succeed in being a curator, like communication
mm.
and about the automation process. So I guess, yeah, that's very
Yeah,
interesting and exciting.
I guess all these things are not necessarily the first things we
Mm-hmm,
have in mind when we start talking about creators. The
mm-hmm,
first things is, okay, is basically, the administrative guys that is
mm-hmm,
doing all the checks and
mm-hmm,
ask you, hey, you need to fill this form before enter into this event of components.
mm-hmm.
But no, yeah, it should not be exactly like this, and it could be more interesting for everybody to have a more a different way to imagine creator as a different way. And
Right.
this is why this stream was interesting also for me to
Mm-hmm.
put down on the paper every all these things, and to ensure that, okay. And now we discover the good elements, a good comparison. So you can say, hey, if you want to be the Gandalf of components, probably you need to have to
Yep.
be the curator.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that was very interesting. I mean, lots of new things I am taking away with me today. So, dear viewer, if you think that even you are taking lots of things with you back to your room after the stream, then do share it on your socials. And if you really think whatever we discussed was useful, then do not forget to hit a like, share this with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to do that, and also follow us in our Twitters. Anthony, if you can just move to the next slide. So we are in Twitter with these usernames. So just in case you'd like to know more, you can reach out to us, and we can communicate with you, and we can do great things together. And do not forget to join our Discord channel. That's very interesting, and we will do all the great things together only if you join us in our Discord server, and we can we will do great community stuff together. So yeah, it was so interesting and exciting.
Interesting, and we are very we made it for 1 hour. That was
Yeah.
speaking and speaking, and very interesting. So
1 hour just
whoa,
passed.
yeah, it's moving so fast. I think this is what happen when you are highly involved in the topics. I didn't figure that.
Yes.
Oh, it's nearly 1 hour we are speaking
Yeah.
right now.
We didn't realize. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's all. So
Yeah,
we're
maybe
gonna.
one word, maybe the final
Mhm.
word to say that tomorrow we are organizing a Twitter Spaces about technical writing, blog post, and etc. So it also it will happen on my Twitter account.
Yep.
Comparing to the previous Twitter space that happened on yours. So we try to do both. And it will happen tomorrow at 2 p.m. CEST, and it should be 6 p.m. IST, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you can find the link here. So if you want to join, feel free. We are willing to share also good moments speaking. I think it's more engaging. Twitter Spaces is very interesting. So people, you can, if you want to speak, you just need to ask, and we
Raise
will
your
give
hand.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like we want
And
to
I think
a
the
run
best
table.
part of Twitter Spaces is we just don't speak, we can hear you. So that is so much feel good thing for me. So it's like I just don't need to go and blabber. I can also hear what you want to say. So that's always interesting for us. So yeah, we're very excited for tomorrow's session in Twitter. So do not forget to join us tomorrow. Do hit on the set reminder button to stay tuned. And yeah, see you tomorrow. And let's wrap up. Bye.
Bye bye, and see you tomorrow. Bye.
See you. Bye.